What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Move Groove Grow podcast. This is essentially me sharing with you guys updates on my three companies: Vision Paradox, my social media company; Tantrum, my dance company; and Emeroy TV, my personal brand. Essentially here on YouTube or the podcast or Patreon, wherever the heck you guys are listening to. Last week, in terms of the work, in terms of the personal brand, I've been doing this thing. I've been experimenting with sprints. So last week was a sprint on just Emeroy TV and patrons, just focusing on reactions, and it's been fucking fantastic. The result is I've gotten a lot of reactions ready for Patreon and YouTube, ready for September, which gives room for the channel to grow while I shift my focus on other projects for a bit. Because the main reason I schedule and space these out is because I can't just keep working on Emeroy TV every single week. I got to be able to focus on clients. I got to be able to focus on projects for Tantrum, and then it's very much the thing that I'm being reminded of one thing at a time, depth over width. A foot forward in progress is better than an inch in multiple directions. So it's really been fruitful in terms of not just the reaction videos, but also the short form content for all the companies as well. So this week I'm focusing entirely on Vision Paradox's YouTube channel because there's a lot of content that's backlogged since last year. So the main challenge is organizing these files and kind of looking through it to see if any of the information is still relevant, because we talked about some marketing stuff and AI stuff that and there have been a lot of updates since then. So I want to make sure that a lot of that is still good. So the goal by the end of this week is getting at least a month or two worth of content, of long form content, and at least, I don't know, in terms of short form, there's so much that can be produced, but enough valuable short form content to be distributed on all the platforms, whether it be tips, whether it be entertainment, whether it's behind the scenes, just something that's valuable for people to watch, but obviously not boring as hell. Just some thoughts on the whole sprint method that I've been doing. And this is actually the longest I've been able to do it, because I usually let distractions get the best of me. So I guess the challenge kind of going into it was staying focused, because there's always the temptation of working on other things or just being distracted, or, the whole shiny object syndrome of like, oh, I want to work on this, I want to work on that, I want to work on that. And the way I used to approach my weeks was like, I would spend an hour on this thing, an hour on this thing, an hour on this thing. And I'd get to a point where like I feel like I would be able to make more progress if I spent more time on this rather than the other thing. And sometimes I would do that, but for some reason, like me, there's a part of me that sometimes feels attached to the game plan of what I put on the calendar. But sticking to it, I think this is my third or fourth week going into it. The benefit and the result is really the depth of the work. I'm getting a lot more done focusing on one thing. I do focus on smaller things here and there, but I just make sure that it is not the dominant thing of the week or the dominant thing of the day. So I shared an earlier example of last week I was able to get at least 2 months worth of reaction content ready to go. Another example is during my shorts sprint, which is where like I worked on shorts for the entire week straight. I got over 100 pieces of content ready for Emeroy TV, Vision Paradox, and Tantrum. Yeah, so just being able to focus on that and almost having the mental permission to let my mind go into that depth. It also allowed me to cater other ideas that I would not have thought of had I just been working on it for like 2-3 hours. All right, so on to Tantrum news. This past weekend, we filmed a full day of podcasts, from Q&A about training, sharing our thoughts about the Olympics, to balancing dance life, work life, and all the aspects of what it is to be a professional dancer, a hobby dancer, and whatnot. I think the main challenges when it comes to doing the podcasts is, one, coordinating on where to get a spot, because I live in the studio with Max and Lauren, and also finding a space that fits 8 to 9 members and coordinating with 8 to 9 members. We all have things that's going on, so making sure everything fits in terms of the schedule. One of the reasons that I want multiple members on this podcast is because since it's this channel, this podcast is about the company, it makes more sense if the more people we see in the podcast from the members, including the members, I feel like the better. That way, in terms of these conversations, we can get more perspectives, we can get more in depth, rather than just me and another member. I just feel like the interaction overall makes it fun. You guys get a taste of how we are in actual conversations, and we also get to go a little deeper in regards to certain topics. The result of that film session, I think we got at least 4 to 5 different episodes that we're going to be releasing throughout the next couple months. And in terms of rehearsal, this Sunday marks the beginning of the next Temper Tantrum project for Universal Rhythm. We started Love in Motion. Again, it's one of the numbers that we did for the original live show of Universal Rhythm. So in regards to that, we got things done a lot faster than expected. I'm really aiming to be more intentional in making hay slowly. So I had us really slated to only work on 2 things there so we can go in depth. We worked on like 4 because we got done faster than expected, and not so much in a rush, but in a point of we're satisfied. So we completed blocking and choreography for several sections. I think the challenge going into that was making sure the members remember the choreography and shift and kind of shifting things around, because again, this number was originally meant for a stage, and then reformatting it for film is a whole completely different thing. And we also haven't touched this choreography in almost 2-3 months. Essentially what we did was simplify the formations and made the choreography. We actually put more emphasis on the storytelling aspect rather than trying to do crazy dynamics for camera. Honestly, I feel really good about it, and I hope I really want the momentum to keep going. This weekend is looking like we're going to be able to finish all of it, which sounds great. And it's one of those things like, ooh, like things feel good right now. Kind of waiting for the shoe to drop, but I'm also like, I'm grateful we're kind of ahead on schedule. That means the thing we're doing is working. We've got to keep the momentum and just not let off and not relax, because I think that's what the mistake was before. We're also going to be doing another round of filming reactions this weekend, focusing on a South Korean reality TV show called Street Man Fighter for our Patreon. So those of you guys who know the show, check it out on the Patreon. If not, it's a pretty awesome show. It is reality TV, but it does include dancers, which is something we support. And it's also one of the things that's highly requested. Unfortunately, we can't share it on YouTube because of obvious copyright reasons, which is one of the reasons it's on our Patreon. We're also going to be doing a lot of other smaller reactions that people have been asking for on YouTube. And in a couple of weeks, we have Retreat, all of which I'll probably be sharing updates in a week or so, next week. We have a meeting about that tomorrow to solidify activities, the intention, how we want to approach it, because it's a little different this year, because we usually have Retreat at the beginning of the year as a team building. It's usually a handful of rookies, and we're just trying to integrate and build team chemistry. This year's a little bit different. We're already familiar with each other, but I'm wondering how these team building exercises will deepen the chemistry, deepen and foster the relationships that we have between the dancers. That for me, my hypothesis and theory is that it helps bring that creative energy and chemistry that we need on stage, in rehearsal, and on camera. Which leads me to the lesson of the week for me, which is one thing at a time, one step at a time. I said it earlier, 1 foot forward in progress is much more meaningful than an inch of progress in multiple directions. That's it. And I'm gonna keep doing this method for as long as it is producing results. And right now it's doing really good. I might shift things again depending on life circumstances, but right now it's working for me.